Hey everybody, didn't see you there. What? Let me check. Yep, 2 days already. Means we're right on schedule for a crypto coffee update. I got your news, conferences, events, etc. Everything you need to get prepared for knowledge about the crypto world. Blockchain world, like Bitcoin Diamond says. But first things first, if you're new with us, welcome. Good to have you. Thank you for listening. And please join us for our simultaneous sip. This is just a moment of reprise. So much information and data out there. We like to just take a minute, drink some tea, water, coffee together, and just enjoy the moment. After all, there's so much going on. You gotta have a moment to relax. So, kick it up. Relaxing. All right, let's go ahead and get back into the old hustle and bustle and take a look at some of the news coming out, including some data that shows that we, whoever we is, the great collective in the sky, they can't expect cryptocurrency to handle inflation. Now, this is some interesting stuff. Not sure I agree with all of the metrics used, which we'll get into momentarily, and this is coming from the Blockchain Research Unit DR. So let's go ahead and jump into the article and unpack what's going on and some of the qualms I have with how this study was undertaken. Now, first off, what they did right, they did examine some of the internal inflation that occurs in these cryptos. They say that Litecoin and Dash specifically could suffer from some of the arbitrary supply inflation, as they call it, which could significantly decrease purchasing power if demand ebbs off. And when it comes to year-over-year price inflation, apparently Bitcoin fares better, Ripple does a little bit worse than Bitcoin, and Nano is just off the charts. And why does this metric look a little weird? That's because they denominated it in USD. Now, this is the part of the study that I will say makes it short-sighted at best, is probably the kindest way I could phrase it, because the US dollar has lost 98%, actually a little bit more than 98% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve's creation in 1913. So to denominate a fungible cryptocurrency in an inflationary fiat is, as I said, not only short-sighted, but also kind of begs the question of, well, how much longer will this denomination make sense? And just to be clear, I'm not trying to devalue, but the notion that there are individuals in nations that don't hold the reserve currency, the US dollar, that are doing far worse than the U.S. economy. So think of Venezuela, right? Telling them, hey, I know you want dollars, but those inflate too. You know that, right? Look, whatever gets food on the table is the most important thing in that kind of scenario. And yes, if cryptocurrency prices are going down relative to the U.S. dollar, well, that's not a great thing, not the best environment for stability and price, and that's something I can empathize with and completely agree with. However, the notion that the decline in USD price is a sustainable thing per se when the U.S. dollar is indeed subject, just like all fiat currencies, to massive inflation over time, well, let's just say as this financial theater expands to include more actors, more big-name actors, such as the US dollar and the Great British Pound, it'll be really interesting to see how these giant economies handle the inevitable mathematical force of inflation. The report ends with a conclusion that's really level-headed, something I absolutely agree with and makes a lot of sense. Cryptocurrencies do need to be relatively stable if they're going to be useful in an already weakening economy. As said, whatever gets food on the table. However, looking at things from a macroeconomic perspective and seeing that, as stated, all fiat currencies are subject to hyperinflation due to the mechanisms that control their supply, well, that's a bit complicated, and that's reasonable. That's why I kind of switched up the news bite to include this next segment. Now, not everybody's a macroeconomic person. It doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, and that's completely fine. I'm not going to call my welder to fix my toilet. Different strokes, different folks, different mindsets, and different ways to look at the same information even. It's part of the beauty of being human. So that's why I'm including this small segment to talk to you guys for just a minute about some options that are available out there in the marketplace, completely free, to see what works best for you, really. After all, love you guys, care about you, want you to do what's most comfortable and successful for you. There's no sense of forcing yourself into a position that's only going to harm you in the long run because it's just not your style. So, what we have here today is Baby Pips. This is a resource specifically for Forex trading. But Paul, I don't want to trade Forex, I want to do the crypto thing. I know, don't worry, we're going to get there. And the good news is, the charts that are used in Forex, same charts that are used in crypto. After all, cryptocurrency, Forex is international currency trading, so a lot of the knowledge does connect. After all, we have some fantastic partners over at the Smart Money Trading Center. They have a great Discord room where they trade Forex regularly, so feel free to jump over there and get some more information about the traditional financial markets. The more you know, after all. Point of the matter being, Baby Pips can give you some great free information on how to read charts and get an idea of how to look at this information in a more objective fashion. Their school of pipsology, as it is so called, refers to a pip, which is a move upward or downward on those charts that you see. You know, the red and green ones with the candlesticks, as they're called. After you learn a little bit about how this system works, you may or may not be interested, after all, this is not financial advice, just some options, in paper trading. Paper trading lets you use fake money to put up positions to see how you may or may not have fared should you have opened a position at that point. It helps you get closer to the real psychological feeling you may experience when trading with actual money. Here's a picture of the charts that I'm talking about. You may have seen them from time to time. After all, if you're in the markets, you probably have. And learning what can be discerned from these data points is absolutely critical. There are all kinds of methods to apply, things like supply and demand zones, various indicators, and there's no one size fits all. So this is just a little bit of information I wanted to give you guys to help you explore how to find what may work for you. In fact, there's a group of people called the Chart Guys. They do fantastic work, offer daily updates, and they're more technically focused than I am. I'm more of a macroeconomic fundamentals kind of individual. I can spot something coming generally from really far away. However, some of the closer details lead to some lost potential profits. But the good news is you're never going to make every potential profit that comes your way, and there's always new opportunities in the markets. So if this is something up your alley, maybe worth checking them out. Just a little caveat in the news bite to give you guys some information, encourage you to spread your wings, learn all you can, see what fits best for you so you can help to make the space the best it could possibly be, and you can help to make your situation the best it can possibly be. Let's shift gears again back to the KYC-friendly companies establishing a blockchain association for lobbying in Washington, D.C. Wow, that was a quick change of gears. Let's go ahead and explore a major lobbying group in DC comprised of KYC-friendly crypto organizations. And again, shout out to Georgy Georgiev, always writes some great articles, like reading his stuff. Looks like prominent companies like Coinbase, Circle, Protocol Labs, and more are creating a group to lobby federal lawmakers and get regulators to better understand the field of cryptography. To quote the chief legal and risk officer over at Coinbase, quote, "The Blockchain Association is an effort to get the preeminent companies in the space together, so policymakers know they're hearing from companies that welcome regulation when it's appropriate. We're not companies looking to game the system, but trying to develop a legal and regulatory system that will stand the test of time." End quote. I can understand where Mike is coming from here. After all, you really don't want to stick your thumb in the eye of the umpire for a baseball game you're playing in, because you're likely going to get thrown out. Contrarily, it might actually be a better return on investment to buddy up with the umpire, so he might give you potentially preferential treatment. That's a rough analogy for lobbying that we're seeing playing out here as these major companies begin to work together voluntarily to navigate the often thick underbrush of regulation. So it'll be interesting to see how these major institutions negotiate with lawmakers and potentially educate them about the growing space. But that said, that's all we have for the news. Let me know what you thought of that little trading caveat below in the comments. Something you like, something too basic, pretty good sources. After all, feedback is critically important. I read every comment, and I really do appreciate the melding of minds and hearing you guys' opinion. For now, let's check out Friday, September 14th. There's going to be a Litecoin Summit 2018 kicking off in San Francisco. The NextBlock conference is happening in Bulgaria. And, get ready, super highbrow, the second IMO conference on theoretical and computational discrete mathematics is happening in Derby, UK. Trying to work in some of those really intense cryptography conferences as well here. And that's all we have for Friday, September 14th. Moving on to Saturday, September 15th, we have a NEO meetup in Boston and an XEM meetup in Ukraine. For Sunday, September 16th, we have Discover Blockchains happening in Houston, Texas. Think Outside the Blocks happening in Seoul, and the School of Integrating Advanced Cryptography with Applications, big highbrow seminar happening in Greece. That's all we have for Sunday, September 16th, and for this Crypto Coffee update, do have a list of B-list tokens, which are all fine projects. It's just, there's too much to talk about. There's, like I said, always information. It's why we have to have our simultaneous sip to have a moment of reprise. But nonetheless, worth checking out. You never know when your favorite projects may have something sneaky going on, worth looking down there. And it gives you a chance to kind of do your own research, check behind me, without having to dig through the myriad of sources that I work with. So, with that said, my name is Paul, signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Your support, as said, means the world. We are Cryptide, and remember, the tide is rising. Probably because of that dang hurricane.